Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 200. I can't believe we made it here, but here we are, episode 200. I'm so excited. As a special 200th anniversary episode gift, I would be thrilled if you would share this with friends, colleagues, coworkers, people that you know would benefit from improving their physician lives. I don't do this work alone, and I am just thrilled to be here with you today and celebrating episode 200. But we've got work to do, so now we're going to dive right in. Today, we are going to be starting a challenge, and I'm going to come back to that. But first, we're going to talk about why on earth are we doing this in the first place? My friends, we wear our busyness like a badge of honor, right? We feel like if I keep busy, whether I want to or not, right, it will prove my value to the other humans around me, right? This is something that is so ingrained in us, we don't even recognize that we're doing it. But the way you can tell if this is you is those precious moments when you have time to relax and you can't figure out what the hell do you do with yourself, right? You don't know what it's like to not be busy. This is you. I am talking to you. Now, you are a smart, efficient, dependable person, right? You hold your team together, you hold your family, your friends, your patients, right? These are all things that you do. But this badge that we wear, this badge of honor of keeping busy, moving all the time, what is it really getting us, right? We are exhausted. We running in place all the time, never feeling like we're making progress on, our personal or professional goals. And maybe underneath it, we are struggling with the question of, is this all there is, right? We spend so much time and energy getting into medicine. And once we're there, we may feel like we're stuck on this endless hamster wheel. We don't know how to get off. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. We are struggling. This is not benign, right? We have talked about this before, but we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive here today and really talk about the impact of stress. According to the science, this chronic stress, this hustle for worthiness, it doesn't just steal our joy. It is actually stealing time from our lives. It is actually contributing to disease, inflammation, and aging. My friends, we have got to make it stop. The pathway that we're focusing on in this discussion is talking about telomeres. Now, think back to your genetics coursework from many years ago or, college biology classes. Telomeres are the end caps on our chromosomes. They're like those little plastic doohickeys that are called egglets on our shoelaces, right? When we've got good telomeres, we are, protecting them from fraying and shortening, right? Which maintains the health of our chromosomes, especially when it comes to dividing. But they do shorten naturally over time. Chronic stress accelerates that shortening. When telomeres get too short, cells can't divide normally. The result is faster aging, more inflammation, less repair, more disease. I don't think any of us is shocked to hear that, but until we put it in the context of what is going on in our lives, I also don't think we are getting mad enough about it to really change the tide, right? We need to do something different. Now, if you really want to dive into the science, I highly recommend that you read The Telomere Effect. Elizabeth Blackburn and Alyssa Appel, apologies if I'm pronouncing their names incorrectly, they wrote this book and they show all the ways that long-term stress exposure increases our cortisol, it increases oxidative damage in our DNA and our cells, and these erode telomere length. Stress is literally toxic to our cells. My friends, we need to find a better way. We didn't design the cortisol swamp that we're swimming in, but we all live here. And unfortunately, it is up to us to help drag ourselves out of that swamp. Now, medicine has always been challenging, and I have no idea what it was like to be a doctor 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, but I can tell you that things have changed that are not helping us. Let's think about what's going on in modern medicine today. We'll take out the drama that's happened just this year alone, but let's think about the differences even over the last 10 to 20 years. Physicians once worked closely with a nurse, usually an RN. They shared the patient load, they shared the responsibilities and the emotional burden of taking care of other humans. We are lucky this day and age if we have a medical assistant that we work with, and it's usually not someone that we work closely with. It might be the, rotated MA of the day. For many of us, even that relationship may not be there, and it certainly doesn't feel like the burden is lightened when it comes to the responsibilities that we hold or the emotional burden of taking care of our patients. We have lost this. We've also turned healthcare into a productivity game. Visits and billable services are the widgets, and we are the machines that produce the widgets. This is reflected in all the productivity metrics that you look at. And yeah, it is the way that most businesses are run, but our professional services have been turned into something that seems like a commodity when it is very difficult to capture, the care and attention that we provide to our patients and the human connection that they need in trying to understand, evaluate, and treat and diagnose their disease, right, is more complicated than simply producing a widget. We have patient satisfaction surveys that, equate our medical care and services with customer service. As if practicing medicine is the same as, getting your order right at the Starbucks, right? It's not the same thing, and yet we are graded the same way. We have PubMed and tremendous resources available to us. Now, we love having this information at our fingertips, right? It is so much easier to use. However, there are millions and millions of publications that are out there that are, we're supposed to read and we're supposed to keep up to date on. I was at a conference about a year ago and they were talking about calcium and vitamin D literature and how there are something like 50,000 articles that talk just about vitamin D. And to be quite honest, many of them contradict each other. How are we supposed to keep up, right? This is something that people didn't have to face in the past because there were only so many books, there were only so many journals that you could keep in your house. But today we are swimming in information. We have board certifications and maintenance of certifications, which means that you are a professional multiple choice taker. Now, I know not all of us take multiple choice tests as part of our certifications, but a lot of us do. And this constant evaluation, on the one hand, we might say, it is good. It is good for us to keep our knowledge going. On the other hand, it is just another way that we must constantly demonstrate our value and prove ourselves again and again and again. And that adds to our stress. Let's throw in smartphones, electronic medical records, and social media. All these things vying for our attention, all asking us to respond, reply, react. These tools have all expanded our reach, but they've also expanded our responsibilities and shrunk our sense of control. And then there's life outside of work. Many of us are parents, partners, caregivers, and emotional first responders. We care for everyone around us. We have the unseen work of scheduling, remembering, worrying, and tending. You're also the attending. You're the one that people turn to for answers. But in the system that you work in, you may have very little real authority to actually make decisions or actually lead people. It's a setup that keeps your responsibility high and your power low. That, my friends, is a recipe for burnout. So let's be clear. This isn't your fault. We're not going to blame ourselves for existing in this chronic stress, but we will start to see that stress as a kind of decompression debt, a physiological overdraft that we have to make repayments on. We're going to start making those installment payments 1 week at a time. And that brings me to our 10-week challenge. Now, as I was putting this together and getting excited about it, I kept having this nagging thought, why on earth would you do a 10-week challenge? Well, let me lay it out for you. There are a lot of challenges that happen that are 3 or 5 day, resets. And, I've taken the bait. I've jumped in and tried to do these things. And, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to show up for the video that's, out there, every day for a week, or, to be consistent day to day, because I've never had a consistent schedule. My schedule is a little bit all over the place, as I imagine is yours, right? We have long days, we have short days, we have days when we've got the kids, at soccer practice, we've got days we might do this or that, right? It is hard to try and make a real dent with a challenge that lasts a really short amount of time. It also just so happens that on the day that this podcast episode releases, we've got 10 weeks left in the year. And so it seems to me a prime opportunity for us to really embrace taking steps now to lower our stress, even though we're going through the holiday season, even though it's a weird time of year to do it, because the time is now. The time for us to improve our health is now. If we wait for the perfect time, we're always waiting. If we wait for our schedules to be clear, we're always waiting. If we wait for the inbox to be empty, we are always waiting. The time is now, and I want you to join me. I recognize myself that it is time for a refresh on some of my habits, and so I'm going to be doing this challenge along with you. I know that there may be some weeks that are harder for you than others, but let's let's do this together. This is a small, doable way for you to pay down that stress debt every week. Every week, I'm going to give you new ideas. I'm going to let you, experiment with what works for you, what helps to improve your health, what helps to reduce your stress. I'm going to release a podcast episode each week, like I always do, that is going to include one simple action step, something that you can integrate into your real life without needing to have extra hours in your day. We're not trying to fix ourselves because we are not broken, but we are going to be retraining our nervous system and our attention to care of ourselves with the same intention and love that we bring to caring for other people, right? This is about us. This is about helping our human bodies and brains and our minds, our emotional selves to feel better sooner, faster. Get it done. Some weeks are going to feel easier than others. That's okay. It's going to feel awkward sometimes to try and cram it in. You're not going to feel like you're doing it right. That's okay. It all counts. Every minute that you spend doing something for yourself is something that pays down that stress debt. So, what are we going to do this first week? That's right, my friends. We are starting today. We are starting today. And what we are going to start with is Yoga Nidra. Now, if you remember back, I don't know which episode it was, but I had my friend Dr. Rashmi Shram on. She is by training a family medicine doctor, but she is also someone who teaches and leads Yoga Nidra amongst other amazing meditation practices. And she introduced me to this practice. Yoga Nidra is also known as yogic sleep, and it is an ancient meditation practice, and it's more meditation than yoga. The first step is generally to lie down in a supremely comfortable position. This is not a movement. This is not a, pose-based yoga or stretching. This is not about flexibility. You are literally, most of the time, going to be lying down, sometimes sitting down. Research shows that when you practice Yoga Nidra regularly, and for the sake of regularly, we're going to say 2 or 3 times per week. That's right, 2 or 3 times per week. Regular practice has been shown to decrease cortisol levels, reduce inflammation, and improve sleep quality. The goal of Yoga Nidra is not to put you to sleep, although I'm going to invite you that if that is the time of day when it makes the most sense to you, it is okay, and it is okay if you fall asleep during it. We'll put some caveats in there of, being mindful of when and where you choose to practice this, but all of these benefits together are likely to influence telomere maintenance. Now, not all of these things get studied, and I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time trying to look for that research, but we do know that meditation practices have been shown to be helpful for improving telomere length. There are studies that show that, and so by proxy, we're going to include that. But I specifically am targeting Yoga Nidra because of the impacts that it can have on improving sleep. So let me talk just very briefly about it. Yoga Nidra is a guided meditation. You can find many free versions on YouTube. You can also typically find them in your meditation app or your yoga app, Yoga Nidra. And these are usually guided. They can be as short as 10 to 15 minutes. There are some that go on for an hour. Probably not going to jump into that one, guys. But think of somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week. Now, because you're going to be laying down, because you probably already have a sleep debt, um, and life is what it is. If you need to do this, if you think I am highly likely to fall asleep doing this, then go ahead and do it in bed at bedtime. Make sure you've got your jammies on, right? You've washed your face, you put on your night cream, whatever those things are. You've taken your progesterone and your magnesium. Go ahead and do that in bed. It is okay if you fall asleep, but I do want to be clear that the goal is not to put you to sleep. What has been shown with Yoga Nidra, though, is that when people practice this regularly, it mimics some of the deep sleep waves that occur in our brain and it promotes restfulness. Doesn't that sound amazing? Sure does. So that is why we're choosing that as the start, is that I would like you to feel more rested. I would like for you to feel like you've gotten more sleep. I would like for you to decrease your cortisol level. That is why we are diving in with this particular thing as week 1 challenge. So that's it. 2 to 3 times per week. Now, if you want to really commit to this challenge, and I hope you will, I am going to be offering a VIP challenge. So anyone can join, us on the podcast and listen to this week's challenge. I'm going to talk about the particular thing that we're working on for the week. I'm going to give you some ideas. We'll include some ideas in the show notes. Anybody can do that. For my audience members who are women physicians who want to make a little commitment, put a little skin in the game, I'm going to be offering a VIP challenge at a price of $49. $49 flat fee. It's just to help get committed. But in return, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be letting you know what the challenge is ahead of the podcast episode. I'm going to be sending you resources. So for the Yoga Nidra challenge, I'm going to be sending you some curated Yoga Nidra videos so that you don't have to go searching for one. You don't have to get stuck in your perfectionism and think, gosh, I better do a long one. That'll be better. Nope. We're going to keep it very simple. You're going to have these delivered to your inbox. If I can figure out the tech, we're going to do some text reminders. If I can't, then we won't. I don't know yet. Haven't tried doing that. But I want to make it easy for you to participate. And I'm going to give you tools and resources so that it is easy and fun to work on joining this challenge and finding new ways to reduce your stress. So I hope that you will join me. So I'm going to have a link in the show notes. But also, if you're on my email list already, you may already have been engaged with the challenge, and I am so thrilled that you're joining me. What else do I have to say? My friends, we struggle with perfectionism here. So as we begin this challenge, I want you to remember this. You've been trained to push through. You've been trained to, tough it out, to sacrifice, to endure. Your body is not a machine. Your brain is also not a machine, and your worth was never meant to depend on your productivity. It never was. It feels like it is, but we need to take care of ourselves. We need to believe in our worthiness. And when you join in with this challenge, we are going to make some progress on getting there. These 10 weeks are not a luxury. They are a prescription for your longevity, your clarity, and your peace. So if you are ready, you are going to start by lying down. You're going to start by taking a deep breath and giving yourself permission to rest and feel well rested. Not because you've earned it, not because you're exhausted, just because you exist. So, if you are ready to join the Recharge Challenge, free version, you can just listen to the podcast. If you are ready to, make it a little bit more teeth, right? Then you're going to join me in the VIP challenge. You'll find details in the show notes. Down below, you'll also see links to the book that I mentioned, The Telomere Effect by Elizabeth Blackburn and Alyssa Appel. I hope you'll read it. It's a little bit depressing just because all the science shows us that, the way that we are living our lives is harming us. I found that a little bit challenging to read, but on the other hand, let's use that as evidence that we need to take better care of ourselves. That's why I hope you'll join me in the challenge. I hope that you will find this helpful. And as I shared, again, This is episode 200. We've been doing this a long time here. If any of this work has made life better for you, if any of it has given you the validation that you seek as you are trying to figure out who am I on the other side of, residency and, living this adult life, I hope you will share this episode with other people. I hope you will invite friends to join you in the challenge. My friends, until next week, I am in and rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what happens. Until then, take care.